So I stated I'm a medical cannabis researcher. I'm also one of about 1,200 Canadians who are currently legally allowed to use marijuana for medical purposes. My presentation, no, this is still, we're still using that. We're going to be in that. Right on.
Philippe, talking to the mic.
Raise the mic up a little bit. Talk.
Sure. For my presentation today, I'm going to share the methodology and final results of a recently completed nausea, pregnancy, and cannabis use survey. This study was conducted in cooperation with researchers from the University of British Columbia and the University of Victoria and the British Columbia Compassion Club Society. And it's the first ever peer-reviewed collaboration between Compassion Clubs and university researchers to be published by an Elsevier-listed medical journal. The journal, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but it's the Journal of Complementary Therapies and Clinical Practice. The study started one morning in February of 2003 when I received an email from a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Victoria named Rachel Westfall. The email stated that Rachel was writing her dissertation on the use of herbal medicine in pregnancy, birth, and lactation, and she was looking into the possibility of setting up a clinical trial of cannabis therapy for hyperemesis gravidera, which is an extremely severe form of morning sickness that affects 1 to 2% of women and can have serious health implications for both the mother and the child, including death. Now, I'm pretty familiar with much of the cannabis-related clinical research in Canada, if only because there aren't many studies currently underway in the first place. Despite the implementation of a federal medicinal cannabis program in 1999 and Health Canada's announcement of a 5-year, $7.5 million clinical cannabis research program the following year, very little research is actually taking place in Canada. Over the last 5 years, only 3 federally funded clinical studies research protocols have been started, and one of them, a study on cannabis, nausea, and appetite in AIDS sufferers, was cancelled when Health Canada withdrew its financial support. In response to the lack of studies by our federal government, the Vancouver Island Compassion Society, a nonprofit medicinal cannabis research, advocacy, and distribution organization that I founded in 1999, has initiated a varied and active research agenda. When Rachel first contacted our organization in 2003, we were already engaged in a number of research projects, including a national Canadian Compassion Club survey and a big strain symptom protocol, both of which were designed to determine if observational evidence suggesting that certain strains of cannabis were better for certain conditions could be objectively measured and verified.
No, it's out here.
It's out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone's got something beeping, sorry. I thought it was an alarming situation. In addition, we had just concluded a hepatitis C survey protocol with Dr. Diana Silvestri and the University of California, San Francisco, and although the results of that study proved inconclusive, this marked the first time that a Compassion Club had worked in a university-based researcher on a peer-reviewed and approved protocol. But let's get back to Rachel's email. It didn't take long for me to explain the legal and political climate around the medical use of cannabis was quite challenging for researchers, and that prenatal use by pregnant women was particularly controversial and often condemned, despite very little evidence to suggest a potential for harm to either the mother or the fetus. In other words, getting cannabis from Health Canada to give to pregnant women was simply not going to happen at this stage of our research. However, I did suggest that a well-designed retroactive survey protocol might help us to answer some of the more pressing questions around the issues of efficacy. With that in mind, we developed a survey to determine the effectiveness of cannabis on relieving nausea and vomiting in women, with an additional focus on past use during pregnancy. She then enlisted the support of an experienced researcher from the University of British Columbia called Patty Jansen, who would help us fine-tune our protocol and secure review board approval for the project. Meanwhile, I contacted Vancouver's British Columbia Compassion Club Society to solicit their participation and thus significantly increase the number of potential subjects in the study. So here's what we found. Out of a total of 142 surveys distributed, 84 surveys were completed for a 59% response rate. Respondents were between 19 and 64 years old, showing the real diversity and range of the Compassion Club clientele. All are current cannabis users, medical cannabis users, with all but 4 using cannabis in smoke form, and 79 of 84 participants reported past pregnancy. 59 respondents reported suffering from nausea and or vomiting while pregnant, with 81% describing their symptoms as quite severe, so we can see how serious a condition this really is. 51 women reported using cannabis while they were pregnant, and 40 of those respondents used it specifically to treat nausea and vomiting related to pregnancy. Due to the controversial nature of this study, We conducted an extensive literature review of cannabis use during pregnancy, and here's a little bit of what we found. Although cannabis is the most widely used illicit substance in the world, there's been very little conclusive evidence in regards to the potential harms associated with the use of cannabis during pregnancy. The first formal citation dates back to the 19th century when an Ohio physician named Wright applied a cannabis-based tincture to successfully treat a near-fatal case of hyperemesis gravidarum. Melanie Dreher reports that such use persists amongst Rastafarian women in Jamaica. A survey of 12,060 British women conducted by Ferguson et al. In 2002 did not show significant differences in growth in babies exposed to cannabis in utero compared to non-exposed babies. Similar findings were reported from a survey of 12,885 pregnant women in Copenhagen conducted by Bali et al. In 1999. A 1995 multi-site study by Shiono et al. Of 7,470 women in the U.S. at low risk for adverse perinatal outcomes in whom the use of
we so happy we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, and now's the time to legalize. Tell me brother, tell me true, what the hell we gonna do? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Mother Nature, heaven sent, don't belong to government. Hey there sister, what's the plan? Do you really understand? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, now's the time to legalize. Half the world up in smoke, where on earth can we take the tug? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? Human nature full and free modifies reality. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me?